and gentlemen, you're watching Rush Hour with me, Kareer, and on top of this show, we're breaking the big news here. Well, the Prime Minister today has spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin on a phone call in which both the leaders confirmed their commitment to deepen India-Russia ties just days after US President Donald Trump imposed 50% tariffs collectively on Indian goods over Russian oil and energy purchases. In fact, President Putin has briefed the Prime Minister about the latest developments that are concerning Ukraine. While thanking the President for his detailed assessment, the Prime Minister then reiterated India's consistent position for a peaceful resolution of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The two leaders also reviewed progress in the bilateral agenda and reaffirmed their commitment to further deepen the special and privileged strategic partnership between India and Russia. In fact, to give us more details about that phone call that the Prime Minister had with Russian President Vladimir Putin, my colleague Samir is now joining in live. Samir, this call is pretty significant given the fact that we're not only seeing Ajit Doval in Russia. In fact, President Putin is also likely to be here in India by the end of this year. But this sends out a strong signal that India is not going to accept bullying and will not do any deals under pressure. Samir, can you hear us? All right, we'll try and connect once again with my colleague Samir, who's joining us, but it seems that there is a technical error because of which we're not able to connect to him. But ladies and gentlemen, the big story, the Prime Minister has spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin on a phone call, and both the leaders have reaffirmed their commitment to deepen Russia-India ties. Remember, this is coming in at a very crucial time, just days after US President Donald Trump imposed 50% tariffs on Indian goods over Russian purchases. In fact, we're trying to get connected with Samir again to get us more details on that call and what else was discussed, and of course the big message, the big signal that it sends out to the United States given the time that it is coming. Samir, yes, what more are you learning about this phone call between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin?
Yes, definitely. Prime Minister of India has posted on X platform that Prime Minister had a telephonic conversation with the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. They both discussed, and as per the official statement, it mentions that the President of Russia, they gave a kind of a briefing or the ongoing development related to Ukraine. So whatever the current situation is, that was apprised to Prime Minister of India in terms of Ukraine. In addition to this, both the leaders also discussed about the bilateral agenda, and both the leaders, they reaffirmed their position to further deepen the strategic and the special tie between the two nations. In addition to this, Prime Minister has also extended invitation to President Vladimir Putin to visit India later this year for the 23rd India and Russia annual summit. Now, this telephonic conversation is also being counted very important because it comes and it is being developed at a time when we have seen that American president, they have been strongly advocating that India should reduce its oil purchase from Russia, and also they have already announced to impose a 50% tariff on India, which includes sort of a penalty. The message which was being sent is that the higher tariff is being imposed because India is continuing its oil purchase from Russia. So amid all this development, this larger message that is being sent through this telephonic conversation, where on X, Prime Minister posted that yes, he had a telephonic conversation with the Russian president, and they both discussed not just the Ukraine part, but also reaffirmed their position to further deepen the strategic and the special the ties that the two nations has. And now the invitation has been extended to President of Russia for visiting India later this year.
Definitely. Right. Absolutely, and we'll be looking forward to that visit. In fact, the optics are rather interesting because this is not the only conversation that the Prime Minister had with the President Putin, but yesterday a conversation with Brazil's President Lula da Silva also happened. And of course, on the other hand, we are hearing that the Chinese side has also supported India's stance as far as tariffs go. In fact, China for the longest time has maintained that unilateral bullying via tariffs is illegal. That cannot happen. So big message that is going out there. The Prime Minister inviting President Putin to visit India later this year. This is happening even as NSA Ajit Doval is currently in Russia. He also had a meeting with President Putin and he confirmed that President Putin has been extended an invitation. We're given to understand that President Putin will be visiting India later this year. But ladies and gentlemen, on to the other big story that we're tracking here on the show, and that's related to gold, because gold futures have hit a historic high after reports surfaced stating that the Trump administration has imposed tariffs on the imports of 1 kilo gold bars. In fact, reports are suggesting that the U.S. Customs Agency has passed an order tariffs on 31st July. Now remember that in April, the US President had exempted gold, silver and platinum from any tariffs. And to discuss this and more, we now have Nitin Kedia. He is the National Secretary of AIJGF, that is the All India Jewelers Goldsmith Federation. Thank you very much, Mr. Kedia, for joining us here on ET. Now, I want to ask you, is it just about tariffs or a plethora of global risks that are coming together to see this kind of a bull run for gold?
Good evening, Sumita. Wish you all a very happy festive season, which is starting from tomorrow. And we hope that the gold sales will go record high in this festive season. See, coming back to your question now that the gold futures have hit the record high in the COMEX, the reason is pretty simple, that there was tariffs which were announced by Trump on the Swiss gold. And the reason is that since April, when the first time tariff hits the world, then what happened that there was an arbitrage opportunity between the London gold and the US gold. In London, the gold bar is of generally 12.5 kg. And the COMEX, when they accept a delivery, they accept it of 1 kg. So this gold was getting transported from London to Switzerland, and there it was getting converted into 1 kg from LBM approved refineries. And it was then transported again back to US. So what happened that when Trump team, when they saw the imports that were coming from the Switzerland, they just saw that there was a lot of gold which was coming from the Switzerland, and they thought that if they want to pressurize Swiss government, then gold could be a better solution for them. So what they have done is that they came up with a 39% tariff, and that was the reason that we saw $50 or $60 premium coming into the gold. And apart from that, the tariff uncertainty which is playing around the world, that has also helped gold to cross today $3,400 in the spot market. Back to you, Sumita.
Right. But Mr. Kedia, what is your assessment on the overall demand and, of course, the gold prices, given that we are just in the beginning of the festive season and, of course, India's wedding season is just about 2 months away?
See, last 2 quarters, what we have seen that the demand was pretty slow. If we take a demand of Q4 in 2024 for the jewelry, it was 186 ton. And then in Q1, it was 71 ton. And in Q2, it is 88 ton. So combining Q1 and Q2, it is less from the Q4 of 2024. That itself shows that people are not interested in buying jewelry at this point of a time due to high prices. But when we talk about the upcoming festive season and the marriage season, we have seen a huge demand coming from the B2B side. Just now we had a jewelry exhibition in Mumbai where we saw 70,000 retailers coming into the Mumbai for 3 days. And the response that we have seen there, we are expecting that in Q4, we will be having demand of somewhere around 170, 180 ton contributing from jewelry sector.
Right. Right. So jewelry sector is where the most, the maximum demand is going to come from, Mr. Kedia. So my question to you then is, we're seeing gold at elevated levels. Will it cross these levels, and what are you factoring in so far as gold prices are concerned?
If we take inflation adjusted prices from 1980, then the benchmark prices are coming around $3,750. So we are expecting that by in next 3 months or 4 months, we may get somewhere around 3,750 or 3,800. Apart from that, the bond market is getting slowed. There is a very slow demand of Japanese bonds. And 2 days back, there was an auction of US bonds where generally for each dollar bond, there is a demand of 3.5. There is a bid of 3.5 to $4. This time it dropped to $2.2. So for every dollar bond, there was only $2.2 bid that was coming. And mostly that was from the JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, which are compelled to put that bids. So the risk which is emerging right now in the bond markets and overall in the system, the uncertainties which are increasing, we are expecting that probably this year we will see a price of 3750 and 3800, and probably next year we may be seeing the prices flirting with 4200 kind of levels.
All right, so 4,200 levels around 4,200 is something that Mr. Kedia, you're estimating, and of course, this is just the beginning. Given that the festive season has just started and the wedding season is going to start in just a couple of months from now, it remains to be seen what kind of levels gold is going to hit, and will it remain a good investment strategy for investors to keep their money parked in gold. On that note, thank you very much, Mr. Kedia, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now.